This is the Gillette Labs with exfoliating bar. The bar and the handle removes unseen dirt and debris ahead of the blades for effortless shaving in one efficient stroke.
All right, good morning. A little early, but Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. You too.
Go Crusaders.
It's gonna feel like spring out there today. I don't know if you've been out there. Enjoy that. Sean Wade, what have you seen from him behind the scenes? We haven't seen as much of him in games this year. What have you noticed in his growth improvement this year?
Yeah, Sean's a smart kid. He's worked at all the spots for us, and we're further ahead than he was last year. That's for sure.
Did you start him more on the inside this year?
Played both,
Both.
and played some safety. But obviously, our depth at safety has been pretty good, so it's been limited.
How about Mosley on the practice squad? I know it's been a couple weeks, but I mean, it's possible that he could help you. Have you seen anything that?
See. Yeah, see how it goes.
I know we've asked you about Javon Bentley a lot in the past, but I'm just wondering what it's like for you to watch him continue to grow, not only as a player, but as a leader. You started out with a leadership background as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been great. So glad that we were able to re-sign him in the off season. When he's a free agent, but he's been great. On and off the field, leadership on the field, communications, very good communicator, which is important in the role that he plays. Middle linebacker, free safety, quarterback, center, like those are all personal protector on the punt team. They're all high-level communication positions, and he does a great job of that. Very unselfish player, does what's best for the defense, what's best for the team, not what's best for him, so that makes it a lot easier too. Somebody who always thinks of like, what's the best thing for the defense to be in, not what's easiest for me. So, and Devin's the same way. Like, really, sometimes those guys take on the hardest jobs, but that's what's best in that situation. Then that's what they do. So, yeah, appreciate that. Works hard in the off season. I was in here, one of the first guys in every morning, back in February, March, coming to work on it his own. It's impressive. He's really developing into a great career.
Matt Judon mentioned play against Cincinnati where Javon gave him a free call, which sounded like he had a two-way go with his rush. What kind of trust needs to be earned from the coaching staff in order for Bentley to kind of make those calls, or is that something that's always baked into that job of calling the defense and setting?
Yeah, well, there's a difference between calling the defense and making calls on the field within the defense, right? So it's two different things. So it's just involvement, and it could be involvement in both of them, or they could be separate. Like a lot of times the DBs make calls relative to formations and adjustments and that kind of thing. Don't have anything to do with the defensive call. It has to do with the way that they're going to play a certain 3-on-2, 4-on-3, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, whatever it is, or how they're going to rotate the zones, and we go to the zone or we switch it around and go to a different configuration within the same call. So a lot of players have the ability to do that. Depends on what the call is and what the situation is and what we're talking about. And there are the signal callers who would call the defense based on either the huddle call, or if it's a multiple call in the huddle, be based on the formation or the look that the offense presents once they come out of the huddle. Then what do we do? So they're just different. So yeah, as far as players having communication between one or two players, two or three players, like that's pretty common on, I don't know, I don't know, a lot of plays. Wouldn't say every play, but I mean, a lot of plays.
Is there any trust that needs to be earned specific to that call? Is Matt described it like a free call? You know, Bentley says, okay, I got your back. Or perhaps gap in that play.
Yeah, but again, in pass rush, we have multiple pass rush schemes and games, and again, the person that's responsible for calling those, whether it's could be a number of different people, then yeah, then they can make that call.
How's Connor McDermott been hanging in there? I mean, he's had quite a bit of playing time since he came down.
Yeah, thank God we have him. He's done a good job. He's been dependable and tough. He's been out there. He's been durable.
Yeah. Similar to what you remember, I mean, it's way back, right? When you first had him, I know it was so unusual. I mean, when he was a rookie, I mean, you probably didn't even see him play that much back then, right?
We played quite a bit in training camp. Then we, ended up losing him, on a waiver claim. But yeah, it's good to have him back. I mean, he's done a good job for us, and glad we have him. Glad we have him.
But we haven't seen Devontae Parker in a while since he's been out with a concussion. I know he's not been out of practice this week, but do you have any sort of update on him? Is he feeling better?
We'll put it on the injury report, whatever his status is. Those guys are all doing, things to try to get ready every day, and we'll just follow the process through the week and list what they do after practice or on the injury report, whatever it is. It's the only, I can't sit here and tell you what he's going to be able to do in practice. That's why we go out in practice and see what they can do, and then we list them accordingly. So rather than try to crystal ball it and predict it, and then you guys come in here and tell me that I lied to you because I told you he's going to do this, but he doesn't do that, right? I don't know exactly what he's going to be able to do. We'll see what it is, and then we'll list it at the end of practice like we always do.
Do you know if he's going to put a helmet on for practice today?
So there are different things that go into that, and so again, that's handled on the medical side based on what his status is and so forth, and where he is on his return to play.
Like when you have a morning staff meeting with the coaches and kind of lay out what you're doing today, I would assume, is there an expectation of, we know these guys can't practice? And if so, is he among that group?
All right, so the concussion protocol is it's not like anything else. The players that aren't in the concussion protocol their availability is based on their availability and what they feel they can do and what we feel they can do, and then it's progressive, right? So you go out there and you do this, and okay, all right, then you do a little bit more, okay, good, then okay, then you're good to go, right? It's progressive. In the concussion protocol, that's totally under a different set of, it's managed and monitored differently, so that's what it is.
Coach, what are some of the challenges that Miami's motion presents defensively? I mean, I know we talked about Tyreek Hill and Waddle and their vertical speed and how they run them off motion, but in terms of the run game, what are some challenges that their motion presents?
Yeah, well, I think you bring up a great point. It's not the vertical speed only, it's also the horizontal speed. And those motions, the guy gets from one side of the field or formation to the other side very fast and can either outflank the defense or draw the defense out to create more space inside. So the horizontal spacing and speed is, I won't say just as big of an issue, but in a way it's just as big of an issue as the vertical. speed that those players have that they use horizontally. So yeah, it's definitely a problem. Like they do a good job of that. That's how they try to use it. Yeah, they stretch you vertically, they stretch you horizontally, and then if you don't go fast enough and they happen to be going out there, you're outflanked. And if you go too fast and they're coming back across the grain or trying to create space to get you to overextend, to open up inside, then you're vulnerable there. So those are the concepts, the ways they use it. So it's definitely a problem that you have to be ready to, depending on what we're in and what we've called, how we would handle it. But and that's honestly fairly common from a lot of teams, but certainly the San Francisco style of offense, from Kyle to the Jets, which is prevalent there, to Miami. So yeah, we've seen a lot of it. The Rams, teams that use the Rams concepts like Green Bay and teams like that kind of follow that pattern. There's definitely a lot of that. So probably Minnesota. Half the teams we've played this year have build that in. Again, depending on who the players are, and it's not. Sometimes it's speed. Sometimes it's with bigger players like a guy like Cooper Kupp or somebody like that gets into blocking too. So you have a blocker that isn't present, then all of a sudden he is present in the formation, and now you got a guy who's 215, 20 pounds blocking at the point of attack. That happened pretty suddenly. So yeah, that's something we see a lot of, but they do a good job of it, and their horizontal speed and separations, like, honestly, probably is more of a problem than the vertical speed. More frequent. I'm not saying it's more of a problem, but not every play is a post pattern. Not every play is a go route. There's a lot of plays that go horizontally.
When it comes to the offense's perspective, teams like Miami, for example, motion a lot more than some other teams do. What goes into implementing motion like that into your offense that might make it prevalent for one offense, but not so prevalent for another one?
Well, generally offenses do whatever they do, they try to gain an advantage. So whether they motion, don't motion, line up in 2x2, 3x1, 2 back, whatever it is, whatever they do, they try to do it to gain some kind of advantage. They're not trying to help the defense. So whatever that advantage that they perceive that they're gaining is, that's why they're doing it. So, be a number of reasons for doing any or none. There's good reasons for not putting anybody in motion, and there's good reasons for putting people in motion or some kind of jet motion, and there's also drawbacks to doing those. So just depending on what you're trying to accomplish, and I'm sure any offensive coach, when he calls the play, designs the play, or calls the formation, does it to try to gain some type of advantage somewhere or information, or that's why they do it.
We broached this topic on Wednesday. Some other players' opinions were referenced as far as Mac being potentially a dirty player. And you said you'd have to talk to them about that. I don't know. But speaking for yourself, do you think Mac, in your experience, is a dirty player?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit up here and comment about. I mean, we go through the rest of the roster and ask the same questions, right, about different things about players and all that. So I'm not going to get into any of that.
Yeah, I just, it seems unusual that, for one player who's had some controversy as of late, which, whether it's a big deal or not, your opinion isn't clear.
Yeah,
Yes or no.
right now my focus is on Miami Dolphins. It's not on some other game, some other play, some other year, what somebody else said or didn't say. Like, we're trying to get ready for the Dolphins, and so that's where it's at. So honestly, I don't even think about those things.
Final question.
Do you think at all when, I ask you if your quarterback's a dirty player, and I know things that you say to us, you would say to any of the players.
Yeah, again, I'm thinking about the Dolphins. That's really what I'm thinking about. So I'm not going to go into, like, last year, some other else's comments, some other game, some other situation. Like, I don't know, whatever it is, it is. Whatever was called, that's what it is. I'm on to the Dolphins. So I'll do as good a job as I can to prepare a team for that, and that's what it's going to be.
Do you think you run the risk at all
Last question.
of alienating your quarterback when I ask if he's dirty, and you don't say yes or no?
Yeah, I have a good relationship with all the players. I talk to all the players. I talk to the team every day, talk to players individually. on an as-needed basis or anything that's relevant. So I feel comfortable in my relationship with every player, every coach, every staff member. That's what you're asking. I feel very comfortable with every one of them. So that's what I base it on, not what somebody else thinks or what somebody else says. I base my relationships on my direct relationship with that person. That's what I feel is important. If you want to construct it differently, then that's up to you, but that's not the way I do it. All right.